Hey y'all, Chelsea and Danny here.
Enjoy this episode of Today's Homeowner here on YouTube.
If there's ever been a place where space is a premium, it's New York City. This week, we're solving that space problem for one homeowner.
Today's Homeowner with Danny Lipford, the voice of home improvement, with projects, tips, and ideas to help you improve your home.
Okay, maybe this isn't what you think about when you think about home improvement. There's not a lot of 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch-style houses around here, but there's a lot of homeowners who have condos, apartments, and co-ops that are trying to improve the amount of space they have available for living. Now that's exactly what our project is all about this week. A good friend of mine here in Manhattan is building a sunroom on a 3rd-floor balcony to increase his living space. He invited us up to see the project all the way through to completion, and you'll see it on this week's show. When you're tackling a home improvement project in an area like Manhattan, it has its own unique challenges. Now the sunroom that we're building is on a balcony on the 3rd floor of this building. So our first challenge is getting all the materials that we need from this point upstairs, and almost all of that has to be done by elevator. That means a lot of trips with glass panels, aluminum components for the sunroom, tools, and of course, all the workmen have to come up the elevator as well. But look at this apartment. It's less than 550 square feet. You have a den, you have a small kitchen, bathroom, and bedroom. So you can see how valuable the space that we're going to gain by building the sunroom will be for this homeowner. Now there's a few of the components of the sunroom that won't fit in the elevator. Those have to be taken down a back alley, a rope tied to them, and brought up over the edge of the balcony. Boy, the apartment inside's quite a mess, because while the work's being done on the sunroom here on the balcony, there's a number of projects that are being handled inside, including some closet renovation as well as bathroom work. And after all the work's done, the homeowner plans on refinishing all of the hardwood floors. Now the owner is actually a good friend of mine, Ali Velshi, who's a CNN correspondent. And we had a chance to talk to Ali before we headed to the studio this morning. Well, Ali, I imagine by now you probably feel like you've already built this thing a couple times with all the stuff you've gone through.
I had no idea what this would take. I thought it was essentially a sunroom on a deck. This wasn't supposed to be a very complicated thing, but I guess it's a lesson. There is a lot more that goes into these sunrooms or any kind of building in New York than I expected.
Well, we always tell homeowners that you really need to take a lot of time in planning and going through all the steps, but there's just a few more steps here than most people have to go through.
Because of the density of the place, because of the excessive amount of code, because of the fact that you live close to people, there are a number of things that if you were doing this, I guess, in your backyard somewhere, there wouldn't be as much to worry about. It's not just height and weight. It's been pretty complicated. We've had to build this base for the sunroom so that the weight of all the glass and steel doesn't compromise this whole deck. This is a building that's had some problems with leakage in the past. When I started to build this thing, I realized that the base, the actual floor of the deck, had to be redone. So this is a sort of a rubberized roof that had to be put on, and that was, of course, not something I'd budgeted for.
And that's kind of a one-shot deal, too, because now that you have this here, you won't be able to get back under this.
That's exactly right. So I needed to really, really protect this one quite seriously, and that was not something I'd planned for. So the price just been going higher and higher and higher.
That happens a lot in any kind of home improvement. Now, I know space is always a premium in New York, in any urban area like this. Now, how do you plan on using this? Because you have an adjacent room that I guess you're using as a den now. How will you use the sunroom?
Well, what I'm thinking of doing is all the stuff that's in there, that is going to become a den inside. So you're going to come out here, and this will be a sitting room. It'll be sort of a casual space. I'll also have a sofa bed in here so that when I have visitors, as I do now because I brought my dad in to help me out with this thing, they can sleep in comfort and have a bedroom to themselves. My mom and dad can come here, friends can visit, so I'll put a TV in here. I'll make it comfortable, but this is the place I want to hang out. I want to, look out, and I know this doesn't look like much of a view to you, but for me, for New York, this is the view.
That's great, though. I can see where it'll really make a big difference. And I'll tell you, things are about to get started around here. I know you have to head off to work, and hopefully by the end of the day, you'll really see some progress.
I hope so.
Since Allie left this morning, things have really been busy. We've gotten all of the components for the sunroom already up on the balcony and ready to be assembled. There's some over on this side, some of the aluminum pieces and a few pieces of the glass and a few of the pieces of glass over here. Another thing that's taking place, as you've seen earlier, is the membrane is being applied all the way around the wooden subfloor. Now, the reason for the membrane that's being torch applied and also a mastic being used is to prevent any water or snow from getting under the wood subfloor itself, causing problems there. Also, Allie mentioned earlier about how the whole part of his balcony here had to be redone prior to the sunroom being built to prevent any problems with leakage later on down in the apartments below. That won't make any good neighbors at all if that happens. Now, the wooden structure itself was built several days ago, and the reason to build it up this high, not only to prevent any water from getting in, but also to level it up with the existing floor coming, the threshold coming out from the inside. So with all of this done and the aluminum channel going down, hey, this is going to be cool seeing this sunroom come together. But first, take a look at this week's Simple Solution.
It's time for this week's Simple Solution from home repair expert Joe Truini.
Joe, that's a heck of a gate. Where'd you get hardware like this?
Well, actually, this is a piece of hardware I made because I couldn't find gate tensioning hardware that would hold up a gate this size. As you know, most wooden gates have a tendency to sag over time, and when this large, you know, it only took a month or two till it was so far out of level that the latches weren't working.
I got you.
So what I did is I made this one, which I thought would be much stronger than anything you could buy. It's just a piece of electrical conduit that I laid down on a 2x4 and I hammered the end flat, drilled a couple holes for screws, and painted it black. And I've screwed that end to the corner of the gate, and if you can give me a hand, just
okay, sure.
Press down on that lever to raise it until it's
tell me when.
level. Hang on, let me put in a couple of screws on this end.
Okay.
These are just galvanized 1 5/8" screws. Let me see, line it up here. All right about there.
All right.
All right, one should hold it for now. Let's see, let it go.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great. You see, it's a little high, but that's fine because it'll sag a little over time and be perfect. Do me a favor, just close it and see if the gate hardware latches.
Works perfect.
There you go, look at that.
We're at the start of day 2 on our Manhattan sunroom project, and the temperature's a little colder than it was yesterday. It's around 34 degrees now, high today around 40. That makes the idea of building a sunroom a little more appealing. Now, yesterday they were able to complete getting all the materials they needed up to the 3rd floor balcony, and were very successful in getting a good start on the job, including a few of the little small things like the flashing that had to go around the perimeter of the wood subfloor to keep any water from getting under the subfloor itself. And then as far as the framework, they started, you know, a good job on that. Started with a ledger along the wall itself, then the aluminum framework attached to that. And just working now on the header that'll go over the sliding door that'll be here. That'll be really nice to be able to open it up and walk right outside. Now, all of the framework has to be so precise because all of the glass panels are all pre-cut, and you can't cut this type of double pane insulated glass. So very important that all this be done very, very accurately. And one of the challenges they have now is the parapet wall that they have over on this side's gonna have to do a little bit of modification to make that work. That'll take a little time. We've made some changes to the floor height since the framework was designed, so the guys have to make some careful measurements so that they can customize the frame to fit the new plan. Typically, these prefabricated structures go together just like an erector set. The door frame and header above it are great examples of this. The pieces fit together, usually with pre-drilled holes, and bolts or screws hold them in place. In no time at all, most of the skeleton is complete. I caught up with Allie's contractor, Bill Withers, to see how it was going from his perspective. Well, Bill, I love the way this thing goes together, all the different components, but I guess when you have something like a parapet wall here, it kind of throws a little bit of a complication in it.
There's a couple things that we had to overcome here. The capstone on this parapet wall is actually tilted in the wrong way for water drainage. So we're going to have to shim up to lay our aluminum sill down so that we get proper water running towards the outside. We had to deal with the balcony above us. We were limited as far as our height for our ridge, so we had to get a custom pitch on our roof that would allow us to have enough headroom inside as well as getting underneath the overhang.
I guess a lot of your structures like this are actually curved. You have a curved shape to them, but you really didn't have the height to do this one here, I guess.
That's correct. You have either a straight or a curved eave, the selection of either one. And with the curve, you do have the radius comes down in front of you, so you lose a lot of valuable headspace.
Well, I'll tell you, as a contractor to contractor, you've got a lot of hurdles to deal with all the, I mean, it took almost a day to get all the materials just up here, and I know the situation, tell us even about parking complications.
Well, that's, it's a whole set of different rules in New York. You have your parking meter maids, your time allotted, if you have to park at an outdoor meter, it's only 1 hour you're allowed, and it's, you have to get down there before they give you a traffic ticket. Finding outdoor parking is really limited, so it's a challenge.
And if you find it, it's very expensive, I'm sure.
Yes, it is.
Now, some of the other things, I know that this area is going to be heated and cooled, so you're having to do something over here to accommodate, some ductwork that goes along here.
Yes, he had an existing air conditioning unit here, so to get this hot air exhaust out during the summer, we had to actually take out a piece of glass, put it in a filler panel, and then duct this out to the exterior.
Okay. Well, you've only been on this about a day and a half, and you already have this much together. What's the next steps, other than dealing with the complicated issue of the parapet wall? What are some of the other things you're going to have to do before you start putting the glass in?
We have to finish putting in our roof mullions. They should be in by the end of the day. We have some more mullions to put on the sidewall, and then basically we're ready to pop in our operable windows and glass.
Well, I can see, and I'm sure Allie can already see, how nice this is going to be once it's complete. And like I say, you've got enough hurdles without me getting in your way. I'll let you get back to work.
Okay.
While these guys finish up the overhead framework, let's take a look at this week's best new product.
Let's join Danny at the Home Center to check out this week's best new product. Brought to you by the Home Depot.
If you're faced with changing a light bulb around your home and you have one of the tall vaulted ceilings or maybe one of the floodlights you have outside your home, you may consider a bulb changing kit. Now, this one's from Commercial Electric, and it has a kit that has a number of different accessories, starting off with a telescoping pole that goes up to 11 feet. That's plenty of height for most ceilings or outdoor situations, and then attaching to the top of it, several different accessories available. This is one bulb gripper that will handle a lot of the large bulbs. So if you have one that's burned out, you can just push it right over a big floodlight. That's all that's needed, and you can change that out without even breaking out the step ladder or extension ladder. And there's also another head, gripper head for it, that can handle some of the smaller bulbs. Also, many times you may have a recessed fixture that is just too close of proximity for this type of grip. That's where you need the suction cup to attach to the bulb. Unscrew it, put the new one in, makes it real easy, again, without even getting on a step stool or anything. Now, occasionally you may have had an accident around the home where a bulb's been broken off in the socket itself. Turn the power off to that socket, then you can use one of these. Now, these are flexible rubber tips that will remove the old broken bulb, and then you can switch to one of the other tips in order to install the new bulb. Now, this is kind of neat because it all comes in one kit, and it's only $20. We're well into the third day on our sunroom project, and the guys are really cooking. They've basically finished all of the framework, so they'll be installing the glass panels very, very soon. Now, a lot of the work has been spent today putting the final touches on all of the framework and dealing with this difficult parapet wall. Because before, all the water flowed into the balcony. Now they're reversing it by the way of flashing to allow the water to shed off like it should. Man, it's been a busy morning. Bill began by ripping two 2x6s at angles on the table saw. When these treated pieces of lumber were put in place on the parapet wall, they counteracted the inner angle of the parapet cap. This gave us the elevation we needed on the parapet, but the surface wasn't very attractive or watertight. This is where the flashing came in. The outside piece hooked over the outer parapet edge. Its edge will later line up under the glazing frame. The inside piece is more for look, so it simply covers the concrete cap. Then the glazing seal set on top of the flashing and attached to the vertical glazing frame coming up from the sunroom floor. On this base, Bill and Eddie were able to mount the rest of the frame, really completing the size and shape of the new sunroom. This is the kind of progress that Allie was looking forward to earlier this morning when we talked with him. Well, Allie, things are looking pretty good, and actually this is a little larger than I really expected it to end up looking.
It's unbelievable after all these months of planning to actually see it come up. I hung out here in the dark last night just for a little while, sort of picturing myself in here. And I got to thank you, because the other day I left for work and I said, look after things for me. You really did. This is incredible. It's kind of what I had in mind, but seeing it happen just feels amazing.
Well, I know that you've been spending a lot of months, a lot of time getting it to this point. Any hurdles that you've run across so far?
Yeah, learning that I don't know nearly as much as I think I know about stuff. I just had a conversation with the guy who's handling the heating and the air conditioning in here, and that has been something I've been working on for months, a way to figure out how to heat this place, how to keep it sufficiently cool in the summer months, and just had a great conversation with him and a guy who's building the ductwork and putting the stand on, and a plumber, and I've actually kind of feel like I'm getting somewhere with this.
Oh, great.
It's been frustrating until that point.
Okay, well, I know you have a strong financial background, particularly in journalism and broadcast and so forth. You had to have run the numbers on your own thing here. How does that look?
Well, after the initial shock of finding out that this thing was going to cost me more than 3 times what I had initially guessed it would cost me, I got past that, and to this point, I think I'm coming in actually right in my budget. Now, that being said, I have thrown a lot of things out of the plan, so I'm not technically under my budget.
Right.
It's just that I've scaled it back a little bit. Today, in fact, was the first time I got a saving on something. I actually found out that the way we're going to do this heating unit is actually going to cost me a little less than I initially quoted. So I'm breathing a sigh of relief. But no, I'm sure if we stuck to everything I was going to do initially, I'd be 20 to 25% over budget right now.
Oh, okay. All right. But of course, after it's all said and done, it's certainly going to add more value to your place than you're actually spending, and that's what everybody wants in home improvement.
I kind of think in this particular case, it will immediately add more value than the price, than the cost that I put into it, because it's extra space in a place like Manhattan where space is at just such a premium.
Well, you realize what a general contractor goes through and all the different phone calls and the meetings that you have to go through, but you're doing such a good job, you may hang this TV career up.
Yeah, it's all by chance, and I think I've just got some great people, some fantastic people who have just gone out of their way to help out on this thing. So my experience so far, touch wood, not that there's any to touch, is very positive.
Well, great. Well, we'll keep an eye on everything today. Only a couple more days before this is complete, and we'll let you head off to work.
Thank you, Danny.
Okay, sure.
All right.
With the frame itself complete, it was time to begin the glazing process. The glass panels Bill and Eddie are putting into this frame are specifically designed for these sunrooms. The roof panels consist of 2 3/16-inch thick pieces of glass sandwiched around an aluminum frame with a built-in thermal break. The outer piece of glass is tempered, while the inner piece is laminated or safety glass. This stuff is so strong the guys can even walk on it. The glass is initially held in place by 2-sided tape, but only the corners are uncovered. When the glass is perfectly positioned, the rest of the tape is uncovered by pulling the blue strips that have been left hanging. On the walls, temporary caps act as insurance until the final glazing caps are installed and the beauty caps added to create a clean, finished look. While these guys wrap up the sunroom, let's check in with Tricia.
Let's head outside for Around the Yard with lawn and garden expert Tricia Craven-Worley.
Tricia, are you still trying to keep ahead of those weeds?
Well, it may look like it, Danny, but actually I want to create a new plant from this beautiful hydrangea.
Well, these are really incredibly healthy plants, and they just seem to, once it's in the growing season, to continue just to multiply.
Well, it does multiply. If you look down here, you can see it has many, many stalks. But even though this is a hardy plant and grows, I think, just about everywhere in the United States, a really good way to propagate it is, let me move this nice ground mulch here, keeping the moisture in, is to pull one branch down, a healthy one, a strong one. And actually, I think I'm going to take that one right there.
Okay.
And we're going to remove some of these leaves.
Okay.
And the leaf comes out at what's called a leaf node right there.
I
There's
see.
just
Yeah.
kind of an edge. And we're going to put it into the ground.
Oh, so you're going to leave it attached to the plant?
Oh yeah, I've got to leave it attached to the
okay.
mommy plant here. We're going to put it about 2 inches down into the ground and cover it with soil, and then I'm going to put bricks on it.
Why the bricks? What do you need the bricks for?
Well, if I didn't have the bricks there, because this is a nice healthy plant, it's full of water and elasticity, it would pop right out.
Spring back up. I see.
Right, so this way the bricks will keep it in the soil and give it a chance to root.
Okay, this is a great way then to really add more plants to the yard.
Oh yeah, it's a super way and so easy too.
I hope you enjoyed our visit to New York this week. You know, it's been very interesting seeing how contractors and homeowners have to overcome a number of challenges to improve their homes. Now, my friend Allie is very happy with his sunroom. And not only is it a very attractive structure on the outside of his apartment, out on the balcony, it adds the living space that he badly needed. And as we've mentioned throughout the show, space is at a premium in a place like Manhattan. Hey, thanks for being with us this week. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching this episode of Today's Homeowner. And don't forget to like, comment, and hit the bell icon so that you'll be notified of new videos.
And be sure to click around and watch some more videos while you're here.